Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. We are also going to tack on to that last video that it's important to do your vocal warm-ups. Okay, I actually was vocal warm-upping before I did these videos, and then I just got the idea to literally record the video. So normally what I do is I just start with a quick bubble. Just it's like what you're doing is just sitting up straight on, well, I'm in my bed, but I'm sitting up straight. I let the air come up out of me and just go right, and I blow air past my lips. So kind of doing the effect, but I'm letting the lips be loose and relaxed. So if you have anything in your lips like fillers or Botox, it's probably not going to work so well, but and I only know because of experience. And so there's not from my experience, but but so what you want to do is to create the bubble effect is just to warm up, because these are all going to be connected to your jaw up in here and all in here, so keeping all of this relaxed, so when you actually do start singing, you're actually going to do what's important, which is warm up everything, because it's been sleeping for a little while. So and you notice there's no sound coming out, no notes, so it's just air. It might tickle your face for the first few times that you do it, but once you get past the actual bubbling, then you're going to add notes. So do it for at least about a minute or two before you add a note, because it's focusing on the air just to get it up and out of your diaphragm. And so your diaphragm, which is part of the lower end of your, I want to say your lungs. So it's when it expands, I mean, you can always look it up a bit more to learn. I'm not going to get too into it, but the diaphragm is pretty much your best friend after your lungs. Not to mention God having the capacity to give you life, and to breathe. So with the breath that God gives you, you're going to put it into your lungs, and then you're going to fill and expand the muscles of the lungs, because they're just giant sachets or satchels of air. And so they're like bags. They just go and then they fill up, right? So your job is going to be to fill up and then use that air. So you're gonna, and then you're going to release through the bubble. Now, I did one with note and one without note. So first do one without note, then with a note. So if you're just going to do whatever notes coming out of you, just till it runs out. And then back in again. And then again. And then try to get more air into the lungs. Go. And then just inhale and let, so you continue until you can kind of keep your extending the use of the breath. So the breath is so important for that purpose. So not only are you going to warm up your lips, but you're also going to warm up the lungs. And then you're going to just let all that air out, just go right out. But you want to be able to control it, through the muscles that come and get used, right? So we're all like one full out instrument, right, as a singer. And so you have to be able to keep your neck muscles relaxed, your face relaxed. I don't want to have any tension. You want to avoid having wrinkles. And that way you're not and you can see when it starts to tighten up, it's going to start showing in your face. And then most singers don't want to have too much tension in their face unless it's for expression. But that's where I start, is usually doing bubbles and then adding a note. So even if I'm just like, while I was washing dishes, I was like, so going from like a low note to a high note and back down, because then it's like more just kind of like doing a pyramid kind of thing. So I think of it as like a pyramid. You're going from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid and back down. And that way you have a couple more notes to work with. Okay, so it's like we got to go through a 3-step process so far. We got our breath, we got our bubble, and then we got our notes in the bubble. Okay, so that's just starter for today. If you want to start figuring this out, then you can have something to take with you, be practical while you're doing the odd jobs, shopping, driving. It's like one of the most basic things that we do as a singer, but it's just getting the face relaxed in this area and then getting that air to warm up the lungs because now we're going to use them to work, right? So to do 3 minutes of singing, you have to do preparation for that. And then once you also get enough, typically if you warm up for any like longer sets of songs, you do also want to be sure that you're working the range for specific songs, like the lowest note that you need to hit as well as the highest note. So if you happen to know them or have like a keyboard app on your phone, or if you have an actual keyboard, you want to find the notes that's your lowest note in that song, and then you're going to get up to the high song. And why I'm saying this is because you also want to warm up those notes, like, well, even while you're bubbling, because you have to comfortably get there. But you might even have to be like that would be my like lowest note that I have. And typically you want to warm up with the lowest note as well if you want to work on something very specific. I'm just showing you so that you also have a little bit more to work with. This is like sometimes what I do. And then the highest note is just like, I try to get up there, and if it will let me, then great. If it doesn't, don't worry. You can always keep bringing yourself back to the bubble even at the end of your warm-up, because you're going to do maybe some scales and some arpeggios in order to get actually like to that top note. And so top notes are a little bit harder, but especially when you're warming up, but you don't want to have like your top notes like worked up and started like immediately. You want to work up to that because you've been at rest for like the last few hours, right? So this is just you practicing and warming up the voice, and also there's going to be times you're going to need to rest the voice as well. So this is a good way to also just give yourself something to get started on if you are like a procrastinator singer like I am sometimes. Bubbling kind of is just attached to your face. If you just like you could be like a horse and just like you can do drills if you want. Just think of anything like more than 3 and you'll be progressing. Okay, more than 3 and you're progressing, more than 3 and you're progressing. That way, hey, like tomorrow's gonna be more than yesterday's 3, and then potentially you could take that and like apply it to any other song thing that you want to do. So hopefully this helps you get some bubbling in your face and doing your warm-ups. And it is very important to warm up the voice, so no matter what you decide to do today, realize that bubbling is just the beginning, and then you can go back and like start on a song project, because if you have one song under your belt, then that's going to be what you get to practice your bubbling even through, which is going to be a really cool exercise next. So we'll talk about that soon. All right, take care. Bye.